Welcome to the first ever Finesse and Nua content for Challenger. We've been in Challenger for seems like 10 years. We're finally doing our first piece ever. We'll see if we make it to week 2. Nua, I'd like to at least maybe do some introductions in case people don't know us or aren't familiar with us already. Would you mind just kind of introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm Nua. Uh, don't really talk in the AD2L Discord very often, well, until last season. Um, but yeah, been
Why
playing
was
with
that? Why did you start last season?
mostly just because Dill started adding me, so then I responded, and then I don't know, I just kept responding more after Crimson did his little tier list thing, and
When he
yeah,
placed you as not the best carry?
yeah. When I lost the popularity contest to Dill, unfortunately, still crying, but it's okay. Uh, Yeah, but hello everybody.
Yeah, I'm Finesse. Nua plays carry historically for. I don't know if you just said that. He plays carry historically for Nameless. I play whatever position I need to play in order for us to win the most games. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll be starting my off lane journey this season. So we'll see how that one goes after playing one season of mid lane. But outside of that, we just want to give you guys some content. A couple things we want to talk about. First one, just season 40 in review, just kind of getting Nua and myself's take on last season. We'll then talk a little bit about current challenger thoughts, maybe a little bit about the rank change. We'll also look at maybe current teams, maybe like a top 5, maybe top 3 of who we would think would place highest by the end of season or at the end of playoffs. And then lastly, we'll just kind of walk quickly through week 1 matchup predictions. It's just going to be kind of a rapid fire. So, Nua, season 40 in review. Obviously, we won, but do you have any thoughts just kind of looking back at the journey? What season 40 was, I guess, what an experience it was for you?
Uh, yeah, it was kind of weird the way we started. We ended up having to replace one of our players week 1. Got Gremlin in. And honestly, I didn't think it was going to go well at all because we had 3 pause 4 players with Trollbus, yourself, and Gremlin, with you and Gremlin both lane swapping for the season. But we just kind of clicked. To be honest, most games felt incredibly easy. Like, we've done really well, got second place twice before, got third place as well. Um, but, like, there's losses in those seasons where I'm like, damn, we suck. But most of our losses in this last season were like, every time we lost, I'm like, oh, this is what we made. This is the mistake we made. This is our issue in the draft, or we threw the game doing high ground badly, or whatever. Um, I don't want to say last season was easy, but like almost every game we lost, I'm like, this is why we lost. Very clear, very simple. Like I never really felt like we got destroyed.
I
So it was a
think we
fun
only
season.
got 2-0'd, like, we only got 2-0'd the first week,
Yeah, it
right? And
was. It was
then
week
every
one
loss was
against
like a
MTL.
1-1. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was a pretty good season. I don't know. It feels good to not only win, but to like in the games you lose to like immediately understand why you lost. Like that's just a good feeling, as opposed to being like, damn, they're just better than us, aren't they? Um, so I think it was a very good season, and I'm extremely impressed by how well you and Gremlin did, considering you both lane swap for the season. Like you guys each had like I don't know less than a week on your role or something, or you about a month, I guess, but on your role before the season started, it was very well played, I think.
Yeah, I mean, from a nameless perspective, we had a need for more of a resident mid laner. In I have always historically played support, and I think that was a pivotal time where I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna learn how to play mid lane in about 2 months, and we'll see how it goes week 1." um, I remember telling you like the very first series we played against MTL, just like my hands were shaking, you know. I didn't want to make myself look like a fool, which I probably did for a couple weeks in, but like mid-season to the end, it started to become I started to become very comfortable with it, and now Gremlin's taking a break, and we have a need for an offlaner, and here I go again on the next journey. So I hate to say I don't play. I'm not a player that says I can play any role, because I feel like I will play one better at any given time. So we'll see what happens this season. I was going to ask you a little bit about your thoughts around, I think Challenger has kind of been the same as far as just kind of the MMR calculator for AD2L. I know that they increased it by a star, so I think it caps now at Legend 5, and I want to say, I can actually bring it up on the calculator real quick. I think almost there. Yeah, Challenger. 0, Legend 2. Yeah, so it used to be Legend 1 was 0, balanced out. Now it's Legend 2. Do you have any thoughts about why they did this, other than the post that I made 3 months prior asking them to do it?
Oh, I mean, I think the only reason was the fact that you made the post asking to do it, for sure. But no, I think the biggest reason is they were trying to just round out, like, both Voyager and Warrior were really thin on the numbers. Like, Challenger last season had like 16 or 18 teams or something, but Warrior had, I want to say 6 or 8. It was very small in Warrior.
I can double check for you right now,
yeah,
and I want to say one of them was a bye week.
Yeah, and then Voyager and Explorer, they actually had to merge them. Like combine both the leagues into one because of how few people were signed up for Voyager. And I think they kind of looked at the average MMR, the people who played, and maybe tried to fit it out. I assume most people who play in AD2L are between that like Archon to Ancient level. So just like moving the star up by 1, it gives more room for people to fit in Voyager, it gives more room for people to fit in Warrior. Yeah, and most importantly, it's just kind of a change in. Yeah, you're right. There is a bye week, but yeah, it's just a slight change in the schedule, you know, because for the most part, maybe the top 3 or 4 teams and the bottom 3 or 4 teams go up or down a division, but like Challenger was like the same 10 teams for the last how many seasons now? There were some player swaps, but like there was always the same names in there. It was like Honeybee and Savage Sabers and Derailed and Dingoes and us and a couple other teams.
So we had 16 teams, I think it was, last season in Challenger. Now we're down to 10, so we're like -6. Not a bad number. I'm glad we have 10. And then Warrior last season was 7, and now they're up to 12, so it's like a +5. So yeah. I do feel like it's a bit more evened out, which is kind of what I was really wanting to see, as far as giving a little bit of space to grow in Challenger. And then Warrior to me is really kind of like that's kind of like the level of skill sets that people have that you start to figure out, hey, oh wait, I was going to say, I think I just saw Warrior bye week, so that looks like they maybe just have 11.
Yeah, 11 teams it looks like. There's also 10 in Voyager this season, so it seems like Voyager and Warrior both got some of the spill of Challengers, so it's roughly the same amount of teams, but
just spread out a little
more evened out, yeah, with 10, 10, 11 between the 3 of them now, instead of, I think it was like 6 in Voyager last season, which is why they had to combine it with Explorer, and then 7 in Warrior, so...
Explorager, yeah, I remember that. Good times.
Yeah.
And then I want to say, didn't like an Explorer team win Explorager?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Or they were doing really well.
I feel like the skill level between Explorer and Voyager isn't that different. I think it's like a philosophy difference. I could definitely be wrong, because we've only ever played like 1 season of Voyager, and it was our first season ever. But like Explorer seems like a bunch of people doing like crazy shit, like whatever they find fun in their pubs, like don't even attempt to like mimic what the pro scene is doing. or like win rates on Dota Buff or whatever. And then Voyager, I think, is probably the start of people trying to follow the pro scene. So you get a lot of teams that are like trying to mimic like drafts and stuff, but it's just not the playstyle that suits them.
I think Voyager and even Challenger is the point where you recognize that you have a little bit of skill, and then you sign up for Dota Plus and you start doing the cookie cutter builds. Uh, and then when you start moving to like higher Challenger, low Warrior, that's when you start to actually figure out what works best per game. But you know, that's just my opinion. All right, perfect. Do you have any other comments around current Challenger ranks, anything of that nature?
Just
Team
in general,
spread?
I think it's a pretty good change. Is like clearly the fact that the leagues are more even in the number of teams that signed up with 10, 10, 11. Like, I think it's a good change. I don't think there's going to be any situation where one team just is like randomly stacked. I think it's going to be good.
Cool. All right, we're gonna get into the fun part. Do you want to do a top 5 or top 3 teams for not into playoffs, but like first, second, third at the end of this entire season / playoff grand finals? Do you want to do top 3 or top 5? There's only 10, so we're picking half.
Let's go with top 3, just because picking half feels weird and exclusionary almost. Like, picking 3 seems like, hey, we're just random people making a completely uneducated guess on who's going to be the best this season. But picking 5 is like, here are 5 teams that have legends on it.
Okay.
And then talking out our ass, you know?
Here's what we'll do. So I have the S41 Challenger participants page, the team page pulled up. If we go down one by one, so you don't need to pick them. Like, you don't need to pick them right now. We go one by one. So like starting at Savage Sabers, Big Dingo. So you go down and you just tell me which ones you think. Or maybe you tell me the first one, and I'll tell the first one of which one you think would be in top 3. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Sort of. You go first.
Okay, perfect.
I'll figure it out.
I'm gonna go. My first one going down the list here. It's gonna be Slugcats. I think Slugcats. Right now they're placed number 5, 0 wins. I think Slugcats will be top 3, for sure.
I think I would agree. Again, kind of uneducated. I recognize a couple of the players, which is why I would put them in my top 3.
Yeah, I want to say.
But yeah, I would agree.
I want to say Slugcats. They were in Warrior last season. Yeah, and then I think they were like a Voyager team. Yeah, I think they ended up winning Voyager. I think 2 seasons ago. They were just smashing everybody. I think they won last season, at least. I mean,
yeah,
like, if you're
because
winning,
they beat Soulless, so I think so. Soulless was
here we go.
place
Blink Squad. Yeah. Sorry, I was reading that.
Or
So
was
this
it
would be
Blink?
the latest
Okay, it
date
was
there.
Blink.
So yeah, they beat Blink Squad. Then they moved up to Warrior. I think I was looking at this earlier. I think they got kind of smashed. 0. They won 2. Oh, I could just click on this if I was like super smart. There we go. So they won 4 games total in Warrior. Little rough. I was gonna say, God damn it, or is one of those the bye week? One of those is the bye week. Okay,
Yeah,
so they
one
won
of
3.
them is.
Okay, so they smashed 3 games in Warrior. You know, not bad. But yeah,
Considering that there's only 7 teams and 2 of them was the Wild Daddy stack and Grim Scythe, like I don't think it's that bad. That's
no.
pretty
2 of
good.
them,
That's
I
probably
think, were
about as
clear
well as we would have
favorites.
done last season.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go down the list for my number 2 pick. I'm sorry to say it. I'm just gonna go nameless. I know we had a super good squad last season. A couple of people took some time off for the game for the summertime. We got some new people, but I do feel like we're meshing really well. We still kind of have the core of nameless, you and I, so to speak. So maybe we can whip these young guys into shape. But I would say we'd probably place top 3 as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not to leak our scrim data or anything, but like I think we've been doing pretty well despite losing Subtlety Troll and Gremlin over the summer, all taking time off and or unsure of their availability in the case of Troll. So yeah, no, I'm pretty confident of how our season's going off so far. At the moment, I would definitely put us top 3.
If we lose to Crimson in the scrim tonight, would we still be top 3 in your mind?
Yeah, probably. I recognize most of the teams this season, and I feel as though we're better than most of the teams this season. But I mean, that could definitely change. Who knows, right? Maybe we stop clicking. Maybe other teams start clicking. It can change very quickly because I think the biggest hallmark of like Warrior and Challenger League is we're just really inconsistent. Like our teams are very inconsistent if we're all honest with ourselves. Like we may feel good after a game, but like we're not going to play as good in the game after or the game before, or something like that. So who knows? But at the moment, I think even if we get absolutely smashed by Crimson's graph stack, I still think I would put us in top 3 off the information I have at the moment.
Yeah. Obviously, there's only 2 to choose from: Honey Bee Sports and Big Pharma. I know a couple off Big Pharma. Looks like a relatively new stack. I would say probably Bee Sports, old Crimson's graph stack. I recognize pretty much everybody on this team, and they're all legend. At least that's what this website says. Who knows what it says in client, but just statistically speaking, I'd probably put them as top 3 as well. We've played with Crimson, we've played with Winx. I know Winx tried out for us kind of early on, as maybe we were thinking about moving you to pause 3 and having another carry come in. We've played a little bit with Noodle before as well. Actually sat next to him at TI last year. His name's Tyler as well. Shout out to Noodle. But yeah, I think I put Honeybee Sports as definitely the top 3.
Yeah, I think I would agree. It's going to be interesting because, as far as I understand, Noodle's moved to mid, and I believe he's always played pause 1. I could definitely be wrong about that, so we'll see if we'll see if he adapts well to mid. I have a pretty high opinion of Wink, or Winkex, or I don't know how you actually pronounce your name. But I think he's pretty decent, pretty solid. And then the rest of their team, I'm not super familiar with outside of Crimson, but I know Elusive is one of the better offlaners, assuming he's playing offlane again this season. He's pretty consistent. The guy, I don't really have anything bad to say about him. There's a couple offlaners, man, who I swear, like, they just puckered up and bent over to Chris and I last season, but Elusive was not one of those. He was not one of those offlaners who did that. No, not at all. He did not put the lipstick on for that one.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're gonna figure out if Elusive's playing pause 3 in about 10 minutes. As far as week 1 matchup predictions, why don't we just go down on the right side here? We can just kind of rapid fire. Do you think it's going to be a 2-0, a 1-1, or an 0-2? We can start with Honeybee Sports versus Big Dingoes.
Sure. Do you want to go first or me?
Yeah, it's easy. It's going to be a 2-0, Honeybee Sports.
I think I agree. We'll see. So the thing about Dingoes, which is probably the most recognizable consistent stack in AD2L outside of MTL, it's always the same 5 guys. Last season, Chilling, aka Storm, took the season off. So they had 187 standing in for them, I think, and then Void Hunter switched to pause 1. So Chilling's back, aka Storm. So who knows if they got their jelly back. I feel like Dingoes is, how I mentioned a little earlier, how every team in Challenger is pretty inconsistent. I think Dingoes is one of the most inconsistent teams in AD2L.
We've seen them beat like top tier teams, and they lose to shit teams.
Yeah, like they'll Like they'll absolutely stomp the laning phase and then randomly lose a 30k gold. Like they're the Shopify Rebellion of Challenger.
AD2L
Like
Challenger.
yeah, like they'll randomly almost 2-0 Falcons one day and then lose every other game of the tournament. Um, so yeah, so I assume it's going to be Honey 2-0. Is long story short.
Okay. Next up, we have Savage Sabers and Sicker. I think we know most people on Savage Sabers. We just scrimmed them, like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
we're pretty familiar with them. Sicker is relatively new, at least to me. I recognize a couple of names, but I don't. I don't even know who Space Cowboy is.
The only person I recognize on there is Cream.
I was about to say Cream and maybe Kenny Lavender, I think. But again, maybe maybe their Dota in client, their Dota name is different. That's weird. Like that.
Yeah, shout out to Gremlin, aka Birdbox, or whatever the fuck his name was on the AD2L thing.
Yeah. Okay, so just statistically, again, looking at this, it's not in client, so whatever, it might not be up to date. We have 4 Legend 2s and a Legend 1. And then with Savage Sabers, we have about the same. I'd say probably about the same spread. Now, I will say Savage Sabers, they have played together. I think it's the same 5 people or maybe 4 out of 5 people as last season. They didn't place too high last season. I think they were like 7 wins and they did not make playoffs. But maybe they've been practicing and maybe have got a little bit more to show this time around.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a 1-1. That's my guess, but I don't know. I don't recognize enough players on Sicker to make an accurate guess.
Yeah.
I think Sabres improved a lot. We never actually played them last season, but like our scrim the other day, although we were missing, I think 2 of our players for that, we had some stand-ins for it. It was like a really weird, like 80-minute game, which I feel like we were in control for most of it, but like the game was closer than I expected. So I think it's going to be a 1-1, but to be honest, I again don't really have much information on these teams.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the season goes. I'd probably give it a 1-1 as well. Okay, we have Looking for Danny, Playoff Replacement, and Derailed Gaming. I don't even know what this means. This is interesting. Is that like a captain status for Kaseki? I have no idea. We all know J-Bay. Off carry, we know that one as well. Manoy as well. I'm not sure I recognize Sabo. JD maybe. But 3 of those for sure I recognize. And then Derailed. I think Derailed's been through a couple of iterations of roster changes. I don't really recognize Admiral Jiren Flamise, I think is how that is said, or Flame Ice. I don't know. Flame On, Flame Off, who knows? Yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much information on these. I would probably give a 1-1 for them as well, just pretty much for lack of information on my end.
I would probably agree. Part of me believes in the J-Bay Manoy stack, as well as I believe off carry equals me Midas Maelstrom Radiance Battle Fury is US Danny. I've been told that's US Danny, especially considering the team name that they have. So according to everyone in the AD2L Discord, US Danny's rank is not equal to his skill. And concerning his rank is Ancient 1, or sorry, Archon 1, I'd be inclined to agree. But yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-1, or if not, a 2-1 for Looking for Danny playoff replacement.
Gotcha. Next up, we have Big Pharma and Smurfless. We do know Smurfless very well. They are our sister team under the Less organization. Again, like, I know a couple, like, Rooster is super familiar. I don't think I've seen him play in like a season or 2, unless I just completely missed it. Some of these other ones I really don't recognize, if I'm just being totally honest. Sorry, guys. And then Smurfless. Here's sometimes, like, Smurfless is kind of like Dingoes in that they have like the same 4 to 5 guys playing every season, and they just don't care. And I fucking love that because they're just here to they're here for the camaraderie. I do think they've made a couple of changes. I want to say I think Swami has moved to carry. I don't think he was carry last season, if I remember correctly. I think he played the whole season as support. I think they have since kind of switched some people around, and hopefully they found some success with that. I think this is still week 1. Everybody's relatively new. I would probably give this a 1-1, or I might lean towards a 2-0 in favor of Big Pharma, just because it looks like a brand new team, and people just don't know. But I'm curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-1 as well. We'll see if Gata just absolutely pops off and 1v9s the game or not. Again, apologies if I played against you several times, but I do not recognize anyone on Big Pharma. I don't even recognize Rooster that you mentioned. So, complete shot in the dark. I think it's going to be 1-1 just based on ranks and my familiarity with Smurfless. But yeah, that's about it.
All right, game of the week: Nameless versus Slugcats. I'll just say, I know we got to wrap it up here, but I'm just gonna go 1-1. I think our roster's relatively new. We're still trying to feel everything out. And then Slugcats, they did super well 2 seasons ago. They did okay to minus okay in Warrior last season. Of course, there were quite a few really high-skilled teams in Warrior, so can't really blame them for that. I'm probably going to go a 1-1 just because we'll probably surprise them with something, and then they will probably surprise us with something else, and then we'll, kind of get it figured out as the season progresses.
I disagree. I think it's going to be a 2-0 stomp. We're going to fuck them.
It's our content. No, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do think we're going to 2-0 them, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a stomp. I believe Slugcats are going to be pretty good. Like I mentioned earlier, I think they're going to be top 3, just based on me knowing a couple of the players on that team. But yeah, I do think we can. I think we can pull a 2-0. I guess we'll see. We'll see. We got to do a 2-0 for Spike as well. So.
Oh yes. What was the deal with that?
Spike and Harmony used to be on a team together a couple seasons ago, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we'll win against your rival. We'll kill them all. Hopefully, that's the plan.
Well, we have to make up for our week 1 of last season, anyway. So we'll
yeah, absolutely.
All right, sounds good. This is it. So we'll see if we make it to week 2 content. Guys, let us know what you think. Hopefully we did an okay job. We'll have some different topics for next week if we decide to keep doing this. But outside of that, Nua, why don't you send us off?
Yeah, that was our shitty little podcast that we're attempting to do. If you have any criticisms and or new topics for us to talk about or different ideas, let us know. I assume we're going to keep doing this weekly, depending on how it goes, if anyone thinks it's interesting. But yeah, just let us know.
All right, take it easy.